Okay, so are you ready to dive into some serious international diplomacy?
Let's do it.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're talking about becoming a consul today.
Sounds good.
Yeah, representing your country on the global stage, embassies, treaties, maybe even a little bit of intrigue like you
Yeah,
see in a movie.
exactly.
Um, and we've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us out today.
Wonderful.
So we've got career guides, interview prep, and even some AI magic to help you really nail that consul interview.
Sounds like we're well equipped then.
Yeah, I think so. So
Yeah.
I think a good place to start would be like, what does a consul actually do?
Right. Well, a consul is really like the face and voice of their country in a foreign land.
Okay.
So they're responsible for building and maintaining relationships with all sorts of people, government officials, business leaders, and just everyday citizens.
Wow. So they're really kind of like the bridge between
Yeah.
the two countries in a way.
It's all about diplomacy. And it can involve a whole range of things, negotiating trade agreements, promoting cultural exchange programs, maybe even helping citizens abroad who've gotten themselves into a bit of a pickle.
Oh, wow. So it's a pretty diverse role.
Definitely. You need to be a strong communicator, able to think strategically, and of course, a master of diplomacy.
And I imagine you need to be able to stay pretty calm under pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
There will be some high-stakes situations that come up.
yeah, that makes sense. Now, the RoleCatcher Career Guide also goes into the work environment. And it sounds like it can be pretty exciting.
Oh, it can be. You might find yourself working in a bustling embassy in a major city or a smaller consulate in a more remote location.
Oh, wow. So you can be posted anywhere.
Exactly. It's one of the perks of the job. Travel is a big part of it. You get to experience all sorts of different cultures and ways of life.
That sounds amazing.
Mm.
Now, I know we've been focusing on the positives, but are there any downsides to this career path?
Well, of course. Every job has its challenges. And the career guide doesn't shy away from those. It's a high-stress role with long hours and a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You need to be resilient, adaptable, and have a genuine passion for international affairs.
So for those who are thinking, this is it, this is the career for me,
Mhm.
what are some things they can do to get started?
The career guide has some great practical advice. One thing they recommend is internships at embassies or consulates.
Okay, so getting some real-world experience.
Exactly. It's a fantastic way to learn the ropes and make connections.
Now, what about for those who are already working in related fields and maybe want to move up to a consul position?
For them, an advanced degree can be a valuable asset, especially in something like international relations or law.
All right.
And professional development courses can also boost your credentials. Things like diplomacy negotiation, cross-cultural communication.
So it's really about showing that you're serious about this career path.
Exactly. You want to demonstrate your expertise.
So besides getting those degrees and taking courses, what are some other ways that candidates can really stand out?
Well, think about publishing articles in reputable journals, presenting at conferences, maybe even starting a blog or a podcast on international affairs.
Oh, wow. So becoming a thought leader in the field?
Exactly. The key is to build a strong professional network.
So attending embassy events, joining professional associations, things like that.
Exactly. Networking is crucial in this field.
Yeah, it's all about who you know, right?
Well, it's more than that. It's about building relationships, being able to connect with people from different backgrounds, cultures, perspectives.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've got a good understanding of what a consul does and how to get on that career path, but let's get to the heart of this deep dive, the interview.
All right, let's do it.
RoleCatcher has a fantastic section on consul interview prep. And we're going to tackle some of the toughest questions you might face.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Awesome. So let's start with a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career as a consul?
Right. It seems simple enough,
Right.
but it's your chance to really showcase your passion and motivation.
So what should candidates avoid saying?
I would steer clear of generic answers like, I want to serve my country. That's not going to make you stand out.
Right.
Instead, think about personal experiences that really demonstrate your interest in international affairs. Maybe you traveled abroad and had a profound cultural exchange. Or maybe you volunteered with refugees and it sparked a desire to bridge cultural divides.
So make it personal and memorable?
Exactly. You want the interviewer to see your genuine enthusiasm and understand what drives you to represent your country on the global stage.
Okay. Let's say you've aced that first question, and the interviewer is impressed. What might they throw at you next?
Well, they might want to gauge your knowledge and proactiveness by asking, how do you stay updated on current events and policy changes that could affect your work?
That's a big one. The world is constantly changing, And a consul needs to be in the know.
Exactly. So you need to show them that you're a voracious consumer of information.
Okay, how do you do that?
Mention specific news outlets that you follow, journals you read, think tanks whose research you value, and if you subscribe to any professional publications, highlight those as well.
So it's about showing that you're actively seeking out information from reliable sources.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to mention any professional development you've undertaken to stay on top of emerging trends.
Like if you've taken a course on digital diplomacy or international law.
Precisely. It shows that you're committed to continuous learning and professional growth.
Okay, now let's shift gears to a question that's all about diplomacy and tact. How do you handle difficult situations with clients or stakeholders?
This is where your communication and problem-solving skills really come into play.
So how should candidates approach this question?
The STAR method is your friend here. Situation, task, action, result.
Okay, I remember that from our interview prep episode.
It's a classic for a reason. So describe a specific situation where you faced a challenging interpersonal interaction. Explain the task at hand, outline the actions you took to resolve it, and highlight the positive result you achieved.
So it's all about showing that you can stay calm under pressure, communicate effectively, and find solutions that work for everyone.
Exactly. And remember, a consul often deals with sensitive situations that require a delicate touch.
Yeah, you don't want to escalate things.
You want to show the interviewer that you can navigate those complexities with grace and professionalism.
Now, what if the interviewer throws in a follow-up question? Like, can you describe a situation where your diplomatic skills were truly put to the test?
They might want to dig deeper and see how you handle real-world diplomatic challenges.
So be prepared with a compelling example.
Exactly. Something that shows you can build bridges, negotiate effectively, and find common ground even when faced with conflicting viewpoints.
Okay, so you've navigated a tricky situation, demonstrated your diplomatic skills. The interviewer is nodding along impressed. What comes next?
Well, they might want to assess your organizational skills with a question like, how do you prioritize your workload and manage competing demands on your time?
So this is where you showcase your ability to juggle multiple responsibilities.
Exactly. It's a key skill for any consul. So share specific strategies you use to stay organized and efficient. Do you rely on to-do lists, calendars, project management software? Are you a master of delegation?
So it's about showing that you have a system that works for you.
Exactly. And if they really want to put you to the test, they might throw in a scenario-based question like, imagine you're facing a sudden crisis while juggling multiple urgent tasks. How would you approach prioritizing and delegating effectively?
That's a tough one.
It is. It tests your ability to think on your feet and make quick decisions under pressure.
So you need to show them you can handle the heat.
Exactly. You want to demonstrate your problem-solving skills, your ability to assess risks and priorities, and your confidence in delegating tasks to competent team members.
So it's not just about being busy, it's about being effective under pressure.
Exactly. A consul needs to be able to stay calm and focused even in the midst of chaos.
This has been great. We've covered a lot of ground already.
Oh, we have.
But there's still so much more to unpack.
Definitely. We'll dive into more interview questions in the next part of our deep dive. And we'll also explore how RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools can help you shine as the ideal candidate.
Sounds like we have a lot more to discuss. Can't wait.
Me neither. So are you ready for some more interview questions?
Absolutely. Let's dive right in.
Great. So, we were talking about building relationships before the break.
Yeah, and how important that is for a consul.
Exactly. And that brings to mind another common interview question. How do you ensure that your work aligns with the strategic goals of your organization?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is. It's all about showing that you're not just focused on the day-to-day tasks, but that you understand the big picture.
So you need to connect your work to the larger goals of the embassy or consulate.
Exactly. Like, let's say your embassy is trying to strengthen economic ties with a particular country.
Okay.
As a consul, you might be involved in organizing trade missions, facilitating business partnerships, promoting investment opportunities.
So you'd want to highlight how those efforts contribute to that overall goal.
Precisely. You're showing them that you're a strategic thinker, that you understand how your role fits into the bigger picture.
And it's a good opportunity to draw on your past experiences.
Right, absolutely. Think about times when you've successfully aligned your work with strategic objectives. It could be from a previous role or even an internship.
And I bet the interviewer might even ask you to give a specific example.
Oh, definitely. They might say something like, can you share an example of a time you had to adjust your work priorities to support a shift in your organization's strategic direction?
Okay. So how do you handle that kind of question?
Well, it's all about showing your adaptability. Things change quickly in the world of diplomacy.
Yeah, you need to be able to think on your feet.
Exactly. So think of a time when maybe a new policy was implemented or a global event shifted priorities. How did you respond? Did you have to reorganize your workload, reevaluate your goals, maybe even learn new skills?
It's all about showing that you're flexible and willing to embrace new challenges.
Exactly. And that you can stay effective even when the ground is shifting beneath you.
Now, let's say you're aiming for a leadership role within the consular service. What kind of question might they ask to gauge your management skills?
Well, they might ask something like, how do you manage a team of consuls to ensure they are meeting their goals?
So this is where you get to showcase your leadership style.
Precisely. Your ability to motivate and inspire others, and your skill in creating a cohesive and productive team environment.
Okay, so what are some key points to hit when answering this question?
We'll focus on the fundamentals. Clear communications, setting clear expectations, providing regular feedback, and of course, delegating effectively.
It sounds like a lot of the same skills you need as a consul in general.
Absolutely. But now you're applying them to managing a team.
Right, and I imagine conflict resolution is a big part of that.
It is. Consuls often work in high-pressure environments, so it's important to show that you can handle interpersonal challenges with diplomacy and professionalism.
Now, what if they take it a step further and ask, describe your approach to resolving conflicts within a team of diplomats working in a high-stakes environment?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But it's a realistic scenario. You need to show that you can address difficult situations head-on, but also remain calm, respectful, and solution-oriented.
So have an example ready.
Exactly. Think of a time when you had to mediate a conflict or address a performance issue with a colleague. What steps did you take? How did you make sure everyone felt heard and respected?
It's about finding that balance between being firm and being diplomatic.
Exactly. You want to show them that you can build trust, foster open communication, and create a positive work environment even when things get tough.
Okay, so we've talked about leadership and teamwork.
Mm,
Now let's shift gears to the legal side of things.
right.
What kind of questions might they ask to assess a candidate's legal knowledge and experience?
They might ask something like, how do you navigate complex legal or regulatory frameworks to ensure your clients are receiving the best possible service?
So this is where you get to show off your understanding of international law.
Exactly. Your commitment to due diligence and your ability to seek expert advice when needed.
So it's not about knowing every single law.
No, but it's about showing that you know how to find the information you need.
Right. And that you can apply that knowledge to real-world situations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might want to mention specific resources you use to stay updated, like international law journals, government websites, reputable think tanks.
Okay, and what if they ask for a specific example? Like, can you share a time you had to navigate conflicting legal frameworks between your home country and the host nation?
That's a classic consul scenario. You need to think of a time when you had to find a solution that respected both sets of laws and ensured everyone was treated fairly.
So it's a real test of your problem-solving skills.
It is. You need to think critically, creatively, and find solutions within those complex legal frameworks.
And of course, always maintain the highest ethical standards.
Absolutely. Which brings us to another important question. How do you ensure that your work is ethical and aligned with professional standards?
That's a big one. Gets to the heart of a consul's integrity.
Exactly. It's not just about following the rules, it's about having a strong moral compass and doing what's right, even when it's hard.
So how do you answer this question effectively?
You might want to mention specific codes of conduct that guide your work, like the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations or your own country's foreign service regulations.
But it's also about going beyond just citing the rules.
Right. You want to share an example of a time when you faced an ethical dilemma and how you handled it. What principles guided your decision-making? Did your actions align with your values and the standards of your profession?
And of course, they might want to know how you'd handle a tricky situation with a colleague.
Oh yeah, something like, how would you approach a situation where a colleague's actions might violate diplomatic protocol or ethical guidelines?
That's a tough one.
It is. You need to show that you're committed to upholding ethical standards, but also that you can be discreet and sensitive.
So it's about finding that balance again.
Exactly. Addressing the issue while maintaining a professional and diplomatic approach.
So you're showing that you can be a leader who upholds ethical standards, but also fosters a culture of respect and professionalism.
Exactly. It's about navigating those complex interpersonal dynamics with grace and integrity.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this section. We've talked about leadership, legal expertise, ethical decision-making.
And how to stay cool under pressure.
Exactly. But there's one more question I want to touch on before we move on. How do you stay updated on current events and policy changes that could impact your work as a consul?
This one is all about showing your proactiveness and your commitment to staying informed in a world that's constantly changing.
Especially in this age of digital diplomacy.
Exactly. Information is everywhere. It's constantly flowing and evolving. So you need to be more than just a passive consumer of news.
So it's not enough to just read the newspaper anymore.
Right. You need to be engaging with online platforms, social media, specialized blogs, and websites that provide insights into international affairs.
So you can mention specific outlets, journals, think tanks, publications you follow.
Absolutely. And don't forget social media platforms or online communities where you connect with experts and thought leaders.
It's about showing that you're actively curating your information sources and seeking out different perspectives.
Exactly. And don't be shy about mentioning any professional development you've done to enhance your knowledge of digital diplomacy or online communication strategies.
Now, I bet they'll ask you to apply this to a real-world scenario.
Oh, for sure. They might say something like, given the recent mention, a specific current event, how would you approach staying informed on its potential impact on your work?
So you need to be ready to connect current events to your work.
Exactly. Think about how global developments might affect your role as a consul and what steps you would take to stay informed.
It's about showing that you're not just reading the headlines, but really analyzing the information and thinking about its implications.
Precisely. Remember, in diplomacy, information is power. A well-informed consul is a more effective and influential representative.
That's a great point. Okay, so in this section, we've tackled some really challenging interview questions.
We have.
We've talked about leadership, legal expertise, ethical decision-making, and the importance of staying informed.
And we've highlighted the importance of using your past experiences to showcase your skills and your passion for this field.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle that we haven't discussed yet.
And that's where RoleCatcher comes in.
Exactly.
Oh.
I'm excited to learn how RoleCatcher can give candidates that extra edge in their interview prep.
Me too. Let's dive into the world of AI and see how it can help you ace that consul interview.
Okay, so we're back, and we're ready to talk about how RoleCatcher can help you really nail that consul interview.
All right, let's do it.
Using the power of AI. I mean, it's amazing how technology is changing the job search process.
It really is. You know, a lot of organizations now use applicant tracking systems, or ATS, to filter through all those resumes they get.
Yeah, I've heard of those. They basically scan for keywords and specific skills.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And if your resume isn't optimized for those systems, it might never even get seen by a human recruiter.
Oh, wow. So your application could just get lost in the digital void.
Pretty much. So that's where RoleCatcher comes in.
Okay, so how does RoleCatcher help with that?
Well, their AI-powered resume builder analyzes the job description you're targeting.
Okay.
And it figures out the most important keywords and skills.
So it's kind of like doing the research for you.
Exactly. And then it tells you how to incorporate those things into your resume.
That's awesome. So it's like having a secret weapon.
It is. And it goes beyond just keywords. RoleCatcher's AI helps you structure your resume so it's clear and easy to read.
Both for humans and for those ATS systems.
Right, because a messy resume is just going to get tossed aside.
Nobody wants to wade through a wall of text.
Exactly. And once you have a great resume, RoleCatcher can also help you write a compelling cover letter.
Yeah, because your cover letter needs to tell a story.
Yeah.
It's not just a list of your skills.
Right. It needs to make the interviewer want to meet you.
Exactly. Now, what about after you've landed the interview?
Well, even if you make it past the ATS, you still have to nail those tough questions, right?
Of course.
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice comes in.
Okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Tell me more about this.
It's amazing. You can practice answering common consul interview questions,
Okay.
record your responses, and then get instant feedback from the AI.
So it's like having a virtual mock interview.
Exactly. And the AI gives you feedback on everything, your content, your delivery, even your body language.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a coach right there with you.
Exactly. It's like having a personal interview expert in your pocket.
I love that it helps you understand the why behind the questions, too.
Right. It's not just about giving you canned responses. It's about helping you think critically and respond authentically.
And the great thing about RoleCatcher is that it connects all the dots, right?
Absolutely. The insights from the career guide inform your resume and cover letter, and then all of that feeds into your interview prep.
So it's really a holistic approach.
It is. It's all about setting you up for success at every stage of the process.
And it all ties back to what we were talking about earlier, showcasing your expertise, staying informed.
Exactly. Like when they ask you about staying updated on current events,
Right.
you can use RoleCatcher's AI to research the latest developments in your target region or area of expertise.
So you can really impress them with your knowledge.
Exactly. And when you're talking about navigating legal frameworks,
Right.
RoleCatcher can help you identify key treaties or regulations to mention.
So it's like having a research assistant at your fingertips.
Exactly. It's all about using these tools to present yourself as the ideal candidate.
So what does this all mean for our listeners?
It means you have everything you need to succeed. You have the insights from the RoleCatcher Career Guide. You have the tools to create a standout application. And you have the resources to ace that interview.
So it's time to go out there and make it happen.
Exactly. Remember, being a consul is more than just a job. It's a chance to shape international relations, advocate for your country, and maybe even experience life in a whole new part of the world.
So as you prepare for your interview, think about this. What if you were posted to a country in the midst of a political crisis?
Ooh, good one.
What skills and strategies would you use to navigate that situation?
That's something to really ponder.
It is food for thought. Good luck, everyone. The world stage awaits.
Absolutely.